Hello and welcome to another video. For those of you who don't know, hello, my name is Anidria and this is my channel. So today we are going to be talking about some of my favorite childhood books. Really like books, so like not just books that I read when I was a kid, but like books that fundamentally made me into the person that I am today. So it extends past childhood, obviously. And yeah, so today we are joined by Blue Elephant. This actually isn't a childhood stuffed animal, but I do still have my childhood stuffed animals. It's just they're dusty and I need to wash them. I'm faking on washing them, but so yeah, if you see me looking down, I've got little slideshow cards with just different information about each book, because I tried to film this video before, but like I didn't explain plot or anything, or really like even my thoughts. I just kind of like just breezed past everything. So I don't want to do that this time. I just want to make sure that I'm giving enough information, like, you know, context, especially if like some of these books are books that you haven't heard of, and not like make you have to do research on your own or whatever by like not explaining anything about them. So most of the plot summaries I got from either Goodreads or Wikipedia. I will be putting the sources on screen just so you know. And yeah, so we're gonna start with childhood. So many of you might not know, I am 27, so it's been kind of a long time since I've been a child. But one of the books that I remember absolutely adoring when I was a kid was Harold and the Purple Crayon by Crockett Johnson. And so if you don't know the plot of this book, it is about Harold and his purple crayon. But so the plot summary that I got from Wikipedia is brain function. Sorry, I need to drink water. Oh my gosh. Okay, so the protagonist, Harold, is a curious 4-year-old boy who, with his purple crayon, has the power to create a world of his own simply by drawing it. Harold wants to go for a walk in the moonlight, but there is no moon, so he draws one. He has nowhere to walk, so he draws a path. And it goes on like that. I really love this book. I ended up reading it recently when I was like, you know, I wanted to kind of reconnect with my inner child. And I don't know why I'm doing that accent. Like, please stop. I was kind of, I think maybe that was last summer or 2 summers ago. I was kind of in this like weird, like uninspired kind of place. And so I was like, like, you know what? I need to reconnect with that side of myself, because I feel that I was way more creative and like less judgmental of myself at that time. And it was a lovely ride. I love this book still. There's definitely like a creative element to it, because he is drawing his own world. And, you know, like many children's books or whatever, it's very cyclical, and I think that's also amazing as well. And it's an easy book. It's an easy book if you needed a book to read. So yeah, highly recommend. 5-star read from little kid me and me. And so the next book is The Phantom Tollbooth by Norton Juster. Also fantastic book that I've read again recently. So the story follows a bored young boy named Milo who unexpectedly receives a magic toll booth that transports him to the once prosperous but now troubled Kingdom of Wisdom. Along with a dog named Talk and the Humbug, Milo goes on a quest to the castle in the air, seeking the kingdom's 2 exiled princesses named Rhyme and Reason. As Milo learns valuable lessons, he finds a love of learning in a story full of puns and wordplay, such as exploring the literal meaning of idioms. Of course, like, that's a very clinical explanation of it, but it is very punny, and I feel like that's also why I loved it as a kid and I love it now, because some of the puns were lost on me as a child, obviously because you don't know the breadth and the depth of like certain idioms and puns. So like certain puns that went over my head when I was little, like I got now, and I think there's again still merit in it when I was reading it now, especially there's a part where Milo gets stuck in the doldrums, and also like just chef kiss to the world building as well, because these are all like tangible things, like, or you're making a concept, so like depression, lethargy, into like a tangible physical place, or you know, like the kingdom of wisdom, and all of the characters that he runs into are kind of like abstract ideals, but made tangible into like a character. I'll also shout out to the illustrator as well, because I feel like the illustrations also played like a big part in the beauty of the storytelling for me when I was little, because like, you know, it's a fairly thick book or like, you know, like as opposed to like Harold and the Purple Crayon or whatever, it's like a book, but the illustrations, you know, kind of helped paint the picture and like add to the what I call like the mind movie that's playing in your mind as you're reading. I still have fond memories of it, and I didn't read it like recently. I think I read it last year, but again, still holds up. 5-star read, recommend it.
What zoinky labels?
Okay. So the next book that we're going to talk about is The Boyfriend List by E. Lockhart. This book, I feel like I don't think I was in elementary school when I read this. I think I was in middle school, and so this book was like essentially like this book was mine to all the boys I loved before. It was a series, and I should have mentioned this book when I was doing the booktuber newbie tag, because like I read all of the books in this series. I totally forgot about it. But as I said, I tried to film this video before, but it was like a while ago, so I don't really remember like all of the books that are on the list anymore. But so we're discovering this together. It's that bad, but yeah, like this book was definitely like mine to all the boys I loved before. Ruby Oliver, she's definitely like I think she's like a teenager in this book, but I remember reading it when I was like 12, 13, something like that.
Your voice was soundtrack of my summer.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm just remembering like, so the thing I remember the most about this book is that like she has a falling out with her friends. She has a falling out with her friends, like they're not interested in the same things that she's interested in, or you know, like they're kind of like they're at a weird age, you know, like where you're like, okay, I think like they just started high school, and so like it's like such like a emotionally strange time. And yeah, and so like she was falling out with her friends, and that was something that I was dealing with at the time, and just kind of being like, I don't think we had like, I don't think it was for like exactly the same reason, but like I remember relating so heavily to Ruby Oliver. I doubt that I have not read this book since I was a teenager, so I think it would be interesting if I did pick it back up, because when I was looking for the plot summaries and stuff, like, oh my god, the reviews on Goodreads are scathing, but like, yeah, like this book was written in like maybe 2003 or something. Like I'm sure a lot of it does not hold up today, but you know, so I'm a little scared to read it again because it was such a pivotal part of my childhood. If like to read it and be like, actually this shit is ass, would be so sad. But anyway, I haven't told you about what the plot is. So, Goodreads plot summary. Ruby Oliver is 15 and has a shrink. Calling it a shrink even, oh my god. Ruby Oliver is 15 and has a shrink. She knows it's unusual, but give her a break. She's had a rough 10 days. In the past 10 days, she's lost her boyfriend, number 13 on the list, lost her best friend, Kim, lost all her other friends, Nora and Cricket, did something suspicious with a boy, number 10, did something advanced with a boy, number 15, had an argument with a boy, number 14, drank her first beer, someone handed it to her, got caught by her mom, ooh, had a panic attack, scary, lost a lacrosse game, she's the goalie, became a social outcast, no one to sit with at lunch, and had graffiti written about her in the girls' bathroom. Who knows what was in the boys'? But don't worry, Ruby lives to tell the tale and make more lists. Even reading this, I'm like, I'm having flashbacks to me reading this in like middle school. I think it was like 12, like I said, and sorry, it's like the cringiness of it is hitting me, but I'm like smiling because I'm delighted at how like okay, a little bit of background. At the time when I was like 12, in that like kind of preteen teenager era, I never really ever felt like a 12-year-old or like 12, 15, like any of those things. But then kind of I'm smiling because looking back and just being like, you were so 12, and like that's delightful. Like that's so like, yeah, I don't know, like I guess perception, my perception of myself or whatever, but it's like all of your hobbies were so 12. Like you were that, and it's okay, like, you know, kind of feeling to a certain degree or whatever, that like, oh, like, you know, I never had a childhood, or like I had to be so serious all of the time, and like I hated it, and like, you know, really just kind of being bogged down by like always thinking about the future and the future and the future and the future, and like I guess this is me living in the future thinking about the past and being like, yeah, like I don't think I wish that I was more conscious of the time at, like, you know, the like just be 12, you know. But I was always kind of chasing at that time this like air of maturity, which obviously was for like reasons, like I had a reason for that, but you know, it's just kind of looking back at that time and being like, yeah, you're so 12, like you're so 12, you are not fooling anybody, like, and like not to say that I was trying to either, because I was always really reticent of the fact that like, oh yeah, I'm 12, but like, you know, I need to be responsible in things, and you know, no mistakes in all of these things, but it's like, well, you can't avoid that. Like you can't avoid that. You're 12, like you don't know, you can't see the future. Ugh, yeah, sorry, that's like a jumble of thoughts just hit me at that particular point in time, and just being like, whew, jeez. Like, I know there's moments and stuff, like, you know, as an adult or whatever, you kind of look back at the past and be like, oh god, like what is wrong with you or whatever, but I found myself recent kind of just having more moments of being like, you are the silliest person, like, but like you're 12, or like, oh, you did something super fucking childish and like messy and weird, and or like you reacted really badly to something because like you had absolutely like no foresight, I guess, for certain things. You just kind of bebop around Timbuktu. You're just like, okay, like, yeah, 16, 17, all of those moments, and just kind of being like, yeah, babe, you are very, very much 16. like you were not more mature or like any of those things. Like you were, it's giving teenager, like it was giving teenager then. And I guess it's like, yeah, like your childhood wasn't taken from you, I guess. That's what I'm feeling, I guess. But anyway, back to Ruby Oliver. Yeah, like I think like this is like, so the reason why I said that Ruby Oliver and the boyfriend list in the series, the Ruby Oliver series was my To All the Boys or whatever, because I never read a book about having a female protagonist and she's like a bit neurotic. Like, she's stressed out a lot about like things that, of course, like as an adult grand scheme, you're like, none of this, like this doesn't matter, or like this is like literally inconsequential, or like, yeah, it sucks, especially when you're like being talked about in a negative way. But like, again, grand scheme, this really doesn't mean anything. And so I remember like reading all of the books and having like a specific kind of just, I felt like so seen, and like I ended up reading all of the books in this series, which was also like something that I usually wouldn't do. I'm not, especially at that time, I was not a big series reader person. Usually I would like the first book, and then the second book sucked, and then like the third book was worse. So like I would just never, if I liked the first book, I'd just kind of leave it at that. But I ended up reading all of the books in the series. I don't remember how many books there is. I think it's just three or four books. But I read every single one of them because like, yeah, like I felt kindred spirit with the fictional character that is Ruby Oliver. So much so, I remember, because there's a theme in this book of like her and her friends making a Tommy Hazard list, which is like essentially just like writing out traits of their ideal partner. And I remember, I don't think I have the paper anymore, but yeah, I remember like being so inspired by that and writing my like Tommy Hazard list. Writing my Tommy Hazard list, which is also like so crazy because that's like kind of manifesting, but like whatever. So yeah, I remember like writing my Tommy Hazard list, and I think I still have the memory box that it's in, so I'm kind of curious to see what I had written at that time. And I was very, very liberal at the time. It was very like I remember, I think I found it again, like the list itself, when I was in college, and I was like, oh wow, that's like, it's still kind of the same. I know one of them was being like pro LGBTQIA plus at the time. I think it was just like really supportive of gay rights was I think maybe number 3 on the list. Was very, very important to me. But I love her. I don't know if you can tell that I'm very fond of younger me because I was a character, and Yeah, and really, like, me having a YouTube channel at all is also, you know, little kid me's dream anyway, so I hope she's having fun. But anyway, so yeah, that is the boyfriend list. Is 5-star then? I don't know if that still holds up. I'm honestly too scared to ask. But yeah, I look fondly upon the next book. Ah, yeah, okay. So the next book is Crash Into Me by Albert Boris. Definitely a heavier book. We'll just start off by saying that right now. The plot of this book entails Owen, Frank, Audrey, and Janae have one thing in common. They all want to die. When they meet online after each attempt suicide and fails, the four teens make a deadly pact. They will escape together on a summer road trip to visit the sites of celebrities, and at their final destination, they will all end their lives. As they drive cross country, bonding over their dark impulses, sharing their deepest secrets and desires, living it up, hooking up, and becoming true friends, each must decide whether life is worth living or if there's no turning back. This book, so like again, stark contrast. Such a stark contrast between these two books, but which is also like given like how old I was at the time, I'm surprised that why did my parents let me read this? But yeah, it was definitely like I have so many thoughts. The stark contrast between this book and The Boyfriend List, but I think this book is also like the reason why I love found family so much. It's definitely a very like I'm pretty sure it's YA. Like I'm pretty sure it's actually just a YA book, but it's maybe like for like older teens. So like that like 17, 18 kind of age range. Again, I did not read this book when I was that age. I read it like again in middle school, but it definitely did have a profound impact on me. Without any spoilers, I thought it was like so fascinating or whatever that, and really I guess like also it's a product of the times because again early 2000s, meeting your online friends was strange at that time, or like not something that was common. So like, you know, you're meeting a bunch of random strangers that you met online and hanging out with them and like finding connection and like life is worth living would have been weird at that time, but like I feel like now it's like that's so commonplace. It's like okay. But like I was always so fascinated by this because I was like, oh my god, like, you know, you don't know these people for real, but like, you know, they're, I think in terms of character as well, like everyone obviously like to a certain degree, and like, you know, obviously there's character development, but like they found these strangers and they're just like, you know what, I'm going to be so honest and so like so honest, so real, like you're gonna see me at my worst. Like I'm the worst at this particular moment. And I always thought that was so fascinating and so strange, probably because like I would never do that. I'm getting a little bit more okay with it now, but like, sorry, stretch my leg out. I'm getting a little bit more okay with it now, but like, especially at that time, I could not fathom why would you ever let the mask slip, like, and be honest with people? That's terrifying. Again, the irony is not lost on me, but yeah, like just just kind of thinking about like how the concept of internet friends was like such a strange thing, or like, you know, I remember like probably at the time as well there was a ton of news stories about like, oh, like, you know, you never know who you're really talking to online, like, you know, why would you meet up with these people? They could be murderers or whatever. And so like, you know, the risk there, like, you know, oh, like you're like weird and stuff. Also having like an Asian character as well was like, whoa. She's Korean specifically. I'm wondering if they if they touched on that at all about like her being Asian, I don't remember. Like, you know, or if like, I'm pretty sure the cast might be a little bit more multicultural. I don't remember. I don't know if I don't remember if it was like, okay, everybody's white and then this one Korean girl, or if it's like two white people and then like two people of color. I don't remember. They might like, my mind is like, I'm pretty sure everybody else was white, but I'll have to look into that. I'll have to look into that. Let me not say it definitively, but yeah, I was like, this book is the reason why I love found family, found camaraderie, just, you know, wayward souls finding each other. Like, I love that motif so much. It's like, no, they don't live anywhere near each other, I'm pretty sure, or like they're not like super close by. At the end of the book, I'm pretty sure they do like kind of go their separate ways. They kind of go their separate ways and just, you know, they're still like long distance friends, but they have met. And oh, that's kind of a spoiler. Sorry. Whoops. But I mean, it's like a YA-ish novel, so like you kind of know how that's gonna play out. But that's making excuses. Sorry, I'll tag my spoilers next time. And so to round off the middle school era, I have Girl by Blake Nelson. So Girl is, the plot summary is, Andrea Marr begins high school as an ordinary suburban teen. When approaching graduation in her senior year, she decides to explore downtown and comes across mysterious and charismatic musician Todd Sparrow. Todd is the lead singer of a local band called Color Green. This begins Andrea's journey through the Pacific Northwest indie rock music scene of the 1990s. In the process, she breaks out of her suburban, sheltered upbringing and finds herself, her sexuality, and experiences first lust in the year before she goes off to attend Wellington College. Now, I'm gonna be honest with you, I hate this book. I absolutely abhor this book. I remember like having such a visceral hatred of this book. I like randomly picked it up at the library one time. Obviously, like, me reading this in middle school is probably, again, not the intended audience, but again, reading the Goodreads reviews of it, you'll understand what I mean. But like, age kind of doesn't matter because it really is just like, it's a book that I really just don't like. Because if anything, I was kind of like, yeah, like so many unnecessary, my critique of this book is that so many unnecessarily graphic and terrible things happen to this girl who is not even really that old. You know, was hard. I remember really struggling to get through this book and having to force myself to read it. If I could give it 0 stars, I would. But coincidentally, this book did have a very large impact on me because it kind of, so obviously like the book is about a teenage girl and it is written by a man, and I think this book really helps me realize that in a lot of ways Andrea is a teenage boy, like, or is written as if she were a teenage boy, but like, you know, it's weird like that. And so it's kind of like, it really made me aware of the lens in which men view girlhood, and I don't think any other book would have done that particular thing as well as this, because it's really weird. It's like a really weird book. But it also was kind of like, I'm pretty sure it was popular. Like when I was looking up the summary and stuff, I was looking up the summary for this book. Apparently there's a movie based off of this book. I would not watch it because I don't like this book. So, but I was just like, man, I cannot imagine like this being like making waves and all of this stuff. And so I was like, why do I think that I can't be a writer? Like, no shade to Blake Nelson, like, at all. It's just, you know, I was kind of like, you know, I could also write a book, and I could also write, like, I don't know why I think that I can't. And so this book, you know, in a very strange and roundabout way, like, made me a writer. So I guess thanks at the end of that. There was like, so I remember reading this particular book, and then there was another book that was like somewhat similar. I literally cannot find the title of this book, but it's essentially like a similar vein of like a girl meets some, like, so she's like high school-ish, meets this older guy who's like a climate change activist in college or whatever, and is like totally in love with him, completely infatuated with him, changes her entire personality like to fit into his world, only for him to like not give a fuck about her, and like it's this whole thing. Yeah. And you know, it's like I have, like, those two books are linked in my mind, but I cannot remember the title of this, like the title of the second book, because I DNF'd it, and then I'm sure it was on my Goodreads, like my old like middle school Goodreads, but yeah, so, you know, shout out to Blake Nelson for making me realize that I can write too. I could write too. So yeah, so now we're getting into high school, the high school era. One of the books that I really loved in high school, most of these are going to be books that I read in most likely AP Lit, because, you know, AP Lit definitely had a large impact on me as a person, which is, you know, kind of wild to think about. But yeah, so the first book being The Kite Runner. So The Kite Runner tells the story of Amir, a young boy from the Wazir Akbar Khan district of Kabul. The story is set against a backdrop of tumultuous events, from the fall of Afghanistan monarchy through the Soviet invasion, the exodus of refugees to Pakistan, and the United States, refugees to Pakistan and the United States, and the rise of the Taliban regime. I love this book. When I was reading it, I absolutely hated Amir with like a fiery burning passion. You know, he gets his like redemption arc. And he gets somewhat to make amends. You know, a lot of people could argue that, is he really, like, does this really even matter? Like, you know, it's kind of like too little too late type vibes. It's very triggering. So triggering. Like, I've read this book, and I've read 1,000 Splendid Suns, similar vein, very triggering. Very triggering to read, very hard to read, like emotionally. The prose is not difficult to get through, but like actual, like, is like just blow for blow, like blow for blow, like you're getting like anything bad that could possibly happen to these characters happens to these characters, and you just have to like keep going. I did end up loving this book, loving this author as well, because at the time, like, I never really like read a book that like elicited a strong emotional reaction out of me, like this book, and I feel like it's memorable to me because of that. I was definitely in like a reading slump at the time, because as I said in a previous video, I do like, and I've always really loved to read, but you know, reading for school and stuff, like, you kind of lose that. And so reading this book definitely brought back the love I had for reading, the love I had for being immersed in somebody's world. You know, looking around, I'm in your cabinets, you know, I'm doing all of that. So yeah, have fond, very emotionally traumatic feelings of reading this book in the summer before junior year. So will always have a space in my heart. Second, you know, top tier book from my AP Lit days. Again, Beloved by Toni Morrison. I will never ever ever shut up about this book. It's such a good book. It's such a good book. It's gross, but it's such a good book. It's so good. Beloved chronicles the life of a black woman named Setha, from her pre-Civil War days as a slave in Kentucky to her time in Cincinnati, Ohio in 1873. Although Setha lives there as a free woman, she is held prisoner by memories of the trauma of her life as a slave. This book, and well, no, I can't say that I never like read anything from black authors, because I definitely have, especially like, you know, that was always like a very important thing kind of instilled in me by my parents. But I had never read a book as angry as this book. And like, but like, I feel like there, for me, you know, obviously limited knowledge, I've not read every book ever, but for me reading this in junior year, second semester, I had never seen black female rage like this. And I read it and I literally like, this is probably one of the books in that second semester of AP Lit that I had absolutely no issue reading. Like, I inhaled this book, and especially like digesting, like, so in AP Lit we had to like dissect everything, and like, you know, the motifs and like allusions and things like that, and like, so also like getting to see and feel how loaded this text actually is, and like, you know, the little references and other things, the emotion, and like there's so much kind of like bubbling under the surface of just like the straight narrative that I was like in awe. Oh my god. Like, this book is amazing. And then especially like debating this book in AP Lit, like, Setha, get behind me, okay? Like, get behind me. If Setha has no shooters, then I'm gone, okay? Because literally having to debate this book in class, like, I was realizing, like, as I was arguing, I was like, I am literally fighting. Like, I'm not even arguing for Setha anymore. Like, I'm arguing for like a transcendent ideal of like black women at large. Like, I'm arguing for my ancestors. I'm arguing this particular point and defending this woman who is imaginary, who is literally not real. Like, I'm defending this woman like I would be defending, you know, my family. And I had a moment where I was just like, I cannot believe that like this Setha is not real. Like, Setha is not real. Setha is not real. Beloved is not real. But like, this text affected me so much that it felt like it was. And if anything, like, this is set in 1873. Like, you know, she been gone. Okay, like, but I'm arguing like this happened yesterday. Like, please. So, you know, I have fun and also like angry, like viscerally angry memories of reading this book. And you know, I think about it often. And I think about like, you know, the characters and like what they say about like society at large and all of these things. And so I should read it again. I should read it again, because I feel like there's being older now, I feel like I can maybe, you know, potentially pick up on other motifs and things that I probably wouldn't have been able to pick up on when I read it the first time. So yeah, I gotta put that on my TBR. I have a different Toni Morrison book that's, you know, on my upcoming to read list, so, you know, maybe I'll maybe I'll make a whole video of, you know, just me reading Toni Morrison books that I wanted to read. So yeah, that is that book. I feel like that's very, you could probably tell like a lot about me, and also I'm giving like asides as well with these books. But so one of the last books, I'm pretty sure it's the last book, yes. So one of the last books of the high school era is Waiting for Godot by Samuel Beckett. Waiting for Godot is a play. I will preface that. But so the plot summary being Waiting for Godot is a play by Irish playwright Samuel Beckett, in which two characters, Vladimir and Estragon, engage in a variety of discussions and encounters while awaiting for the titular Godot, who never arrives. And I love how philosophical this play is. If you know you're new here and this is like the first video that you're seeing of me, I really love not only philosophy but theology as well, and so I feel like this book is definitely the start of that that personality trait for me, just because like, and you know, from the Catholic drama, but like but like just kind of, because it is like it's a very strange play, and so like so I originally just like read it, and then I actually like I was in theater in high school, so I'm pretty sure in theater class we like actually got to sit and watch it, and like it made me love it even more, because like a lot of like the stage blocking and things made everything make a little bit more sense for me. I'm a visual learner. But yeah, so I lost my train of thought. But yes, I really like this play is, I'm getting closer. This play is very silly in parts, but then also like serious in other parts. And I don't know, it's just like, it's definitely something that I would recommend other people like go see if you can. Or I'm pretty sure there's like a taped version of a showing of it, of the play, so I would recommend watching that. I think it's on YouTube, but I'm not sure. But yes, definitely this play definitely kind of expanded my love for theater as well, so you know, fond. Okay, so we're gonna kind of speed through these last few because we're already at 50 minutes. So now we're in the adult years, and there's four books in total. So first one being Half of a Yellow Sun by Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie. This is definitely a 5-star read for me. I was not expecting the ending, so trying to remain spoiler free in my talking about it. You have to read it. Like, if anything, this author is such a treasure. Like, I don't think I've read something of hers that I did not like. The command of language is awe-inspiring, to be honest. So Half of a Yellow Sun is set in 1960s Nigeria and explores the lives of three very different characters. Ugwu, a poor young boy who becomes the houseboy of university lecturer Odenigbo, and Olana, a beautiful and educated woman from a wealthy family whose relationship with her twin sister Kainene, so different in many ways from her, moves between loving and strained. And then Richard, an Englishman living and researching art in Nigeria. Very, very, very different characters. It's a wonderful, wonderful character study. I absolutely adore it. It's like a wonderful character study, but then in a lot of ways, like a lot of the characters don't do what I think that they're going to do, which was also fascinating to me as well. But yeah, so 5 out of 5, like, you have to read it. Absolutely love it. It was recommended to me, so you know, the person, maybe they did know me kind of well. there's that one, and then On Earth We're Briefly Gorgeous by Ocean Vuong. It's an epistolary novel, so it's written in letter form. So it's an epistolary novel. It is written in the form of a letter from a Vietnamese American son to his illiterate mother. I would say just read it. Like, I feel like I talk about this book so much, but like I really, really loved it. And I kind of like, I knew a little bit about, you know, what I was getting into. I was like, okay, like, you know, it's like, okay, like they're Vietnamese American, okay, you know, I'm sure it's going to be about the immigrant experience or whatever, but like there's so much more to this story, and the fact that it's written in letter form also just makes it way more like intimate, I guess, way more intimate, way more emotional. You're kind of like finding things out because you're reading the letter, like, and so it's just, I love the way that the plot is divulged in this as well. Like, it's such a beautiful book, and I love it so much, and I will recommend it to everybody. It's very, very, very emotional. Very, very, very emotional, but I love those kind of books. So I've moved around so much, but like my leg is falling asleep because I'm sitting on the floor. Say hi. Okay, so the next up we have Bunny by Mona Awad. So Bunny is about a scholarship student who prefers the company of her dark imagination to that of most people. She is utterly repelled by the rest of her fiction writing cohort, a secretive clique of unbearably twee rich girls who call each other Bunny and are often found entangled in a group hug so tight they become one. I adore this book. Like, I feel like I was like maybe halfway through and it was a 5-star read for me. Like, I just knew it. I love how it's written. I love people kind of like find, you know, there's a switch in narration in the middle, and they find that kind of confusing, but I think that adds so much to the story that I loved it. Like, I inhaled this book. I feel like I read it in like maybe a day, maybe 2 days. This was definitely like quarantine book, but I was like, oh my god, this is reading. I love this book. It's definitely got the Heather vibes. It's like Heather's mixed with The Craft, and I love that. I like, those are like two of my favorite movies. So it was definitely giving what it needed to give. It was giving spooky. It was giving like culty, which I also really liked, and I also really liked how that was said, like what that said as well in terms of the world and the character building and stuff. Mwah, so good. Yes, and then the final book, the final book that we are going to talk about is actually a manga, and it is Skip and Loafer. So Skip and Loafer is about an excellent student, Iwakura Mitsumi, who is literally like, I love her so much, has always dreamt about leaving her small town, going to a prestigious university, and making positive change in the world. But she's so focused on reaching her goals that she's not prepared for the very different and overwhelming city life that awaits her in a Tokyo high school. Oh my god, I love this manga so much. Like, I need to own it, which, like, I don't say lightly at all. Like, I don't typically buy books because, you know, I want all of the books that I have to be ones that I love, like really, really love. And so, yeah, like, I think it's been a while since I've read like a manga that has made me as emotional as this one. And yeah, like, it's really just that girl. Like, it's that girl, Misaki Takematsu. Oh my goodness. I love the art. Like, I love the way that it's drawn. I love like the way each character is drawn is like also like very like it's just perfect in my eyes, you know. And even the way that like Mitsumi usually holds her mouth is so like it's cute, it's funny, it's like I feel like it's everything that a coming of age, it's definitely the light is changing, it's definitely something that like everything that I feel a coming of age story should be. But then like, you know, obviously I'm a little bit older than probably the demographic that would be reading it would be, but it still like resonates with me, and I find that to be like so amazing. I love the representation in this. I love how that's handled. I love how like you're kind of I'm a Shima defender also, I will say that as well. But I just like I should have wrote like points to say about this one, because like I just love this one so much that it's so hard to like articulate why. But like the characters themselves are so diverse in personality, but yet like they all gel so well together, and like they're also cohesive in terms of cast. Like it's not like everyone's so like incredibly different that you're like there's no way that these people would ever be getting along. There's like a commonality in all of them that makes it believable, that I absolutely adore. I think the way that like the story is progressing is just like, it's just like wow, like so masterful, so beautiful. Like I cried so much. And then like also like just the friend group that Mitsumi ends up having, like I was losing it with just like tears, like being so happy and like having seen just like that level of acceptance I don't think I've ever seen before. Which I will preface by saying like I've never really wanted to see it. My perception and things are always kind of a little bit skewed, so I will say that. Definitely no shade to anybody who's met me before. Met me before, liked me before, loved me before, whatever. It's just I have a thing about like being accepted, and so actually like reading a story about like friends, or like really like people, just like you're all strangers, and you're all, you know, meeting and trying to figure this teenage stuff out or whatever, but you still like are able to hold space for people. Like I feel like that's a level of emotional maturity that I've never seen before, especially in terms of like, you know, like high school manga or whatever. Yeah, like the way that there's no villain either, like there's just antagonists. I love that. But yeah, you know, if you've never read Skip and Loafer or watched the anime, because that's good too, highly recommend it. Love the story, love the art so much. And yeah, that is the end. Eee! I'm like PJ Shookington because this video is an hour. I'm like thirsty, but also I really have to use the bathroom. TMI. But if you made it all the way to this point in the video, thank you so much. It means a lot to me that you have. Like the video, subscribe, check the description box down below for all of my relevant links and any other, you know, little jaw-jacking moments that I have in the description box. Leave a comment of any of the books that you feel, you know, built you brick by brick. Yeah, and just I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day or night or whenever, and I'll see you in the next one. Okay, bye. Mwah. That was weird. Bye.